I want this chance to show you that your God in karate is so much nonsense, and that's quite easy to do.
I know Kung Fu.
Show me. Thank you, and welcome to another exciting adventure of Fistfights and Fried Rice. I'm your host, Taz. Joined with me, as always, is McGriddles.
What's up?
Justice Magnificent.
What's going on?
UTBABYA.
Yo, yo, yo.
Oh, gentlemen, we're going to have us a fantastic show today. So everybody tuning in and listening, feel free to hit the like button or hit subscribe if you're enjoying the content that you're listening to and what you'll be receiving, as you'll be receiving this every week moving forward. Sounds like we're actually finally getting our shit together, and the sound checks and recordings have been going great. Gentlemen, how have you guys been doing this evening?
Doing good, man. Just I'm on some rice for my knee, just kind of resting in ice. A little injury, but I'm doing okay.
Oh yeah, the H8L underground. You got that, or what's going on?
No comment. What happened in the underground stays in the underground.
You plead the fifth, man.
I would just like to go on record and speak on his behalf as his hetero life mate. The injury he received was that of his own because he is simply just getting older.
Oh, shit.
Jokes.
Well, we are going to have a fantastic show today. First and foremost, we got to start it off. UFC 251, changes in the main card. Gamebred versus Usman. Now, before I venture deep into this rabbit hole, I got to ask, McGriddles, you still riding on that Usman train?
Well, I think Usman beats Burns, but the thing about Masvidal is that he is like on a hot streak, to say the fucking least, dude. His last 3 fights, he basically set the world on fire. He's like one of the top dudes now, and I feel like, you know, grappling wise, Usman beats him. I have Usman, but like, if anybody's going to dethrone him and dethrone him quickly, it's going to be Masvidal. It's like, I'm in a situation where it's like, how do you bet against either one of these dudes? Like, if you want to part with your money, bet on anybody.
You know what? That's fair. I completely respect that. And you know what? I gotta side with you a little bit, but not fully. I still believe, in my heart of hearts, Burns beats Usman. I believe he beats him on the feet. And I believe he submits him on the ground. That's the hill I've chosen to die on, and that's just where I stand with that. In regards to Jorge and Usman, ooh, boy. I think if the fight stays standing, Usman is going to get pieced the fuck up. I think if it goes to the ground, Gamebred's in a lot of trouble. Gamebred has proven to struggle against grapplers, and let's just call it what it is. I don't think Usman is foolish enough to stand there and just trade shot for shot with Gamebred. I really don't. Like you said, especially on the hot streak that he's on right now. I mean, let's call it what it is. He damn near legally decapitated a man with a running knee. Just completely caved in his whole shit in record time. A guy that had never been outworked by anybody on the ground gets completely just blasted and destroyed. It's hard to deny him, and it's hard to deny that what he brings to the table in terms of this particular fight. Honestly, this is a hard one to call. If I have to choose between Gamebred and Usman right now, I got money on Gamebred. Anybody else?
Yeah, I got to agree. Only because I agree with pretty much all of your assessment. My guess is that Usman's. I have a feeling that sometimes. Grapplers will try and stand and bang to prove something, but I think with like the kind of beef that they got going, I think Usman's going to want to try and take him down and just pound him. But I don't know, man. I think Masvidal is in that halo right now. He's in that like halo of momentum. That like you kind of saw it with Conor with those like the chain of fights after Aldo. Like, I think Gamebred feels unstoppable and believes he's unstoppable right now. So I think that's going to be real tough to contend with, unless Usman can weather that storm and get him down. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a great fight. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but I think it's going to be fun.
I'm actually more excited for this than I was for Burns and Usman.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
Justice, your thoughts, sir?
Go ahead, Justin.
Well, being the biggest Masvidal, aka Ponytail from the Kimbo Fights backyard fan, I'm going with Masvidal strictly because I'm a huge fan. I've been a fan since the beginning, and I watched a couple of his fights earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall Masvidal being taken down except for against Maya.
I mean, it's also Maya. I mean, he's also
right.
Yeah, because that's a whole nother animal.
I don't recall. Right, I don't recall a lot of people taking him down. Even Ruslav, Kabalov from I think he lost to Ben Henderson. I don't remember him taking him down. I mean, he took a bunch of guys down and slaughtered them. I just don't recall Masvidal getting taken down and beat up. Oh, to be honest, he got beat up on the feet a lot by some guys like Paul Daly, Gilbert Melendez on the juice, and and Lorenz Larkin. I've never seen him just get taken down and just beat up. Because again, he's Gamebred. He's always been about the fight. The fight starts standing, so you never know. I think, but I will say this: even though I'm a big fan, I think this is an easier fight for Usman. I still say Gilbert Burns would have killed him.
Agreed. Completely agreed. So, gentlemen, let me ask you this. Who, in terms of who has more ways to win, Gamebred striking or Usman's wrestling? How do you guys see it? Because I got Gamebred striking. I'm not going to say he's going to sail to an easy victory. It's definitely going to be a fight. But I think Usman's going to have a hard time getting past those hands of Gamebred. I really do.
Usman's got bad knees, right? I mean, am I confusing him with someone? I thought he's got some pretty torn up knees.
Yeah, I don't recall that. I recall some hand and shoulder things.
Okay.
Sounds like you're thinking of Rampage.
Who am I thinking of?
Possibly Rampage.
No. I thought they covered this when he was on Rogan.
You trying to say we all look alike? Is that where you're going with this?
Well, wait, who am I talking to?
I knew it. The real you's coming out, UTBABYA.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about, Justice.
That wasn't even me. That was Taz all day.
Knock it off, Taz.
That was Taz.
That has not been edited out either. That's staying forever.
What about the last minute shit for Masvidal? Like, Masvidal has been murdering people, but he's prepared for those fights. I might be wrong, but going into this fight, are we all assuming he's been training as if he was going to fight? Was he supposed to be a replacement for this? Does anybody know that?
I don't believe so.
No,
I don't think he was supposed to be a replacement at all. This was a fight that should have happened. This was the fight that at least I believe should have happened the moment he destroyed Askren the way that he did.
Yeah, and part of that, like the way he won that, I think that shows like he's got that fight IQ where, you know, and yeah, he had time to prep for the last few guys, but I think he's got that high fight IQ where it doesn't take him long to break down what someone's going to do and probably figure it out. And given that they got this, you know, bad blood between them, I wouldn't be surprised if he, you know, didn't need a lot of time.
What is the bad blood?
So
original? Go ahead.
Yeah, no. Do you know originally? Because all I could find was kind of when he.
I have no fucking idea.
Well, yeah, it goes back to Glenn Davis when he first opened up Black Zillions. It was a big rivalry between them and the American Top Team. They were pretty much neighbors, right in each other's backyard.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the rivalry that originally started because Usman was on the ATT versus Black Zillions TUF, and he won that event. And that had always been a rivalry, of course. They didn't train with each other, anything like that. But then there was a couple of interviews where Usman did. First, he was like, "Yeah, George Masvidal, he's great. You know, he's pretty scrappy guy, good fighter." And then after he beat Askren, he was on Rogan like, "Who?"
Mm-hmm.
That was the post. Yeah, it was the post-fight interview.
Yeah, he was like, "Who?"
Yeah.
And so yeah, and he did the same thing on Rogan. So it was just
yeah.
yeah.
Right. That would do it.
But I think I feel like Gamebred is one of those fighters like Conor McGregor, pretty much. You count him out. You place a bet against him. Their confidence is riding at an all-time high. You can never count guys like that out. The more confident they are, the more dangerous they are.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm not just saying that as a huge Gamebred fan, but I mean, anytime I've ever even thought about going against Gamebred, he's either knocked the fuck out or just beat down the very person that I thought was going to get the best of him. I was one of the foolish people that bought into the Darren Till hype, and I was like, oh man, Gamebred's gonna have to watch out. Darren Till's coming for him. Yeah, we see how that ended.
Yeah, I think that was like someone was just saying about his fight IQ.
Mm-hmm.
He caught on real quick.
Real quick.
Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, with Gamebred now stepping up on short notice for the main event against Usman, so let me ask you guys this: what are your thoughts moving forward in regards to the BMF title itself? Do you think that this should be a title that they should be awarding to fighters that have a history of just putting on fight of the night performances, or do you think that this should just be a one-off, or do you think this is something that they should implement as a reason to keep guys motivated? Your thoughts?
Well,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
McGriddles. Well, I was gonna say, I don't know if it's gonna be a one and done. I think you got some guys that kind of fit that mold, like Diaz,
Cerrone,
Mike Perry. BMF for me, I mean, regardless of what you think about it, those are the guys that take fights with just no training camp, anytime, any place, short notice. Just pay me. I'm there.
I look at the BMF title, and this is going to sound kind of messed up, but this is how I honestly view it. I look at the BMF title like I look at the secondary belts in like any wrestling promotion. You have your world heavyweight titles, you have your world titles, then you have your TV championships, then you have your...
I was just going to say TV champion.
Then you got your King of the Mountain titles and stuff like that. And I think that's where the BMF title falls for me. Like you're not quite... How do I put this? You're not quite standing on top of the mountain, but you're not too fucking far from it. Like you're right on the cusp of greatness, and this is a belt that basically proves that you are in between greatness, but you're nowhere near mediocrity, and you're not a gatekeeper. That's just how I've always looked at the BMF title, and I think it's a very good title to have, and I actually wish they would implement that more, because like you said, there are a lot of guys and a lot of girls who will take a fight on days' notice and just go in there and just completely put it all on the line just for a shot. And I think those fighters need to be not only represented, but I think that those fighters should also have something to hang around their waist or something to put across their shoulder or hang on their wall in their gym to show, like, you know what, right now I'm the BMF, tomorrow I might be, undisputed champion of the world. Thoughts?
I agree.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, you going? Okay. I was going to say, yeah, I think it's a good way to recognize guys that, for whatever reason, just couldn't get that belt. Whether it was because they were just in the wrong weight class with a guy who was dominant for 10 years, or if they came up at the same time as some dude who's going to be on the Mount Rushmore of MMA. That in any other time, these people are champions, kind of thing. I think giving people like that recognition, and then also guys like are just down, who got the fighting spirit and who are down to scrap with anyone at any time, even though that's not the best thing to do for your career. I mean, those guys are usually exciting guys, fun guys to watch, and they're always willing to step up and put on a show. So I think it's a really good way to kind of honor them and give them that recognition. So I like it. I enjoy it. I think there should be more weight classes as it is, but yeah, I'm glad that I'm glad to see anyone recognized, because there's a lot of guys doing this that a lot of people that don't get the shine that a lot of people, or that a few few others get.
Very true. Now, do you guys think this should be a title that should be defended?
I have no idea. I don't know what the criteria should be. I like the idea of this whole thing. I just don't know how it should be executed.
Okay. Justice, how about yourself?
I don't know if it should be defended, but like you said, I agree that those guys that take those short notice fights, almost like Money in the Bank, almost. You know, if you win a couple of short notice fights, I mean, Gilbert Burns that kind of did it. You know, like I said, Cerrone, those guys. Cerrone had 3. He don't have pretty much 2 or 3 title shots. A couple, but you know, those guys that are on the cusp of getting those title shots, you take a short notice fight, hey, you know, give them something.
Okay, all right, I respect
I
that.
feel a little differently about the BMF.
Do tell.
Obviously, McGriddles has to have the fucking cancer position.
Should have known you were gonna shit on a good thing.
Dude, I'm not totally against it. I feel like it has to be. I don't think it should be defended. I think people should just fight for it, and it's like a recognition of both their contributions to MMA. So for Masvidal and Cerrone, Diaz, excuse me, to deal with that. Like, I feel like it should be unique to them. And what I think would happen if they were to defend it is all of a sudden that belt is going to be worth more than any of the UFC belts. And when you look at all the money problems they have with everybody, you're going to have guys saying like, dude, I'm the fucking featherweight champion. Why does the BMF belt guy who doesn't even want a belt make like 10 times more than I do? I feel like it's going to cause a lot of issues if it's like a regularly defended thing. I think it should be like something that honors dudes that just have, you know, a legacy behind them, and they are those last minute dudes who, as everybody has talked about, and they are the guys who have like the most fight in them as far as like those kind of fights. But I feel like having it as a regular thing as opposed to like a specific ceremonial thing, I don't think that would be a good idea.
Okay, all right. No, you make a really good point. Okay, actually, everyone does. I like everyone's points of views in regards to this title. Okay, very nice, very nice. So my next question, I should say next topic in regards to UFC 251. Might as well just get right into it. Is this the end for Jose Aldo? If he doesn't win this title, should he retire and just go into boxing like he's been talking about for the last handful of years? Or is it time to hang him up from combat sports in general? Call it.
Well, with the boxing, if you know anything about boxing, he's been training. He trained before with is it Robert Garcia?
I believe so.
Pretty good gym. I mean, he's a striking guy. I think he could get a couple of decent fights. I don't know if he can make any noise, but you know, it's possible. But I don't think he should retire if he loses this fight. I really don't think 135 is fit for him. Okay,
all right. McGriddles, same question. All right, deep contemplation. All right, UTBABYA, same question.
I just want to see the Conor rematch.
I never want to see that.
I wanted to see it immediately afterwards, and every day since I've just been upset.
I don't know if my heart could handle seeing Jose lose to the same guy twice. It was already hard enough for me to watch him fall to Holloway the way that he did.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, at the time, so the immediate rematch is really what I wanted to see. Because I hate it. I hate seeing guys get got like that when it's, you know, when they get talked into doing something stupid. That's, I don't know. How old is Aldo now? I feel like he's getting to that age where it's probably the smart thing would be to retire.
He's pushing retirement age.
He's what?
He's pushing retirement age.
Yeah, and he's 32, I think.
So pushing retirement age.
Dude, he's only 33.
Yes,
yeah, but that's he's a like long 33.
But he's like a 50-year-old man in terms of combat, though.
Dude, he got a shit ton of fights, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, man. Like, as far as should he retire, which I rambled in the last podcast. Like, dude, if he can still get money after this fight, then fucking go for it, bro. But I think he's done as far as challenging for titles and stuff, even though he's literally fighting for one. next week. But it's like, dude, did he even win his last 2 fights? Like, dude, like, how are you getting a title shot?
He spiritually won against Marias, and I think anyone that ever watched that fight knows who truly won that fight, and it was Jose.
Which he is a badass, dude. Like, I don't discount him from winning this, dude. Like, and that's what makes me so excited, because like the Jose Aldo fan, which you can testify, Taz, that when McGregor knocked him out, I was out of that restaurant before he hit the ground.
Yeah.
That's how big of a fucking Jose Aldo fan I am. Like, I will not even tolerate his defeat. But I feel like, dude, he's 33, but he's been through wars forever, dude. Like, you can see a difference in him when he fights, dude. Like, he looks like he's like 40. Not like you can see like a physical wear on his like face and his body where it's like, dude, which we were just saying, like, I think it was Babia was like, dude, how old is this guy? He's only 33 years old. But like he looks like he's just so much older. I feel like you can only give your nervous system so much damage, so much shock, where like it just starts to go. Not to say he's not one of the top guys in the world. Like, he could win, but I don't think he will be. I think he's going to be knocked out horribly.
Oh wow! I was going to say lose by decision, but you're going for lose by knockout. Okay, that's fair. All right, so let's go down this main card and put our predictions in. Amanda Ribas over Paige Van Zandt. Call it.
Ribas.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Ribas as well. I think the Paige train has come and gone, and now that she's making more money doing things outside of the cage, I was gonna say her Sports Illustrated thing is gonna live on forever, so I don't care what happens. Fucking ever. All right, Namajunas, Andrade, Part 2.
Namajunas.
I got roasted. Which I didn't get to chime in my 2 cents. Last one, I think she's my 5th greatest women's MMA fighter of all time.
Okay.
She beat Joanna twice. Nobody thought she could do it, and she was I feel like she brought that division to a post-Joanna level that nobody thought she could. She's got the G.I. Jane shit going. Like, I really like her interviews and stuff. I think she is number 5 of my women's MMA top.
All right, hey, it's cool to no, okay, yeah, I'll give you that.
She needs to learn how to let go of a Kimura when she gets picked up in the air.
For real.
That's like rule number 1 in like BJJ grappling class. If you get picked up, let it go.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Was she not piecing Andrade up before the slam in the first fight?
Oh man, she was killing Andrade.
Okay, that's what I thought.
She was killing her, and it was I could remember it like very clearly. It's like Andrade like pinned up against the cage and picked her up, and it was like, girl, let this Kimura go.
She held on to it to the very end.
She went up and down. Yeah, like why?
Like,
who was her BJJ coach?
I don't know if she thought maybe she could. I don't know if she thought maybe she could roll through the slam and still get that Kimura, or I don't know if the fucking fear just kicked in and was like, holy shit, hang on and brace yourself for the ride. I have no idea what the thought process was, but I mean, like you said, grappling 101, you let go of that shit the moment you get lifted up in the air, if not beforehand.
Yeah, if you're a wrestler, Tony Ferguson, Justin Gagey, Kamaru Usman, you get picked up, yeah, you can roll through. But if you're not a actual wrestler, you wasn't in the gym on the mats doing wrestling, you're coming from like BJJ, let it go.
That's fair.
It's not going to happen.
I'm going to go Thug Rose on this one as well. I think that she re-pieces up Andrade. I think she doesn't fall for the same shit twice. I think Andrade is about to get her face just completely rearranged again. UTBABYA, your call? I agree with you, and I go with Thug Rose. Good choice. Good choice.
Yep.
As you should.
We'll go with that.
All right, Volkanovski, Holloway. This is going to be a tough one.
Okay, the biggest thing here, which we talked a little bit about in chat, is that Holloway went on Ariel Helwani.
Yep.
Justice pointed this out to everybody, and he said that he didn't do any sparring, didn't meet with his coaches. And so it's like, you got to play the X-Files conspiracy music where it's like, dude, is he serious? And so which I have, for anybody watching this or listening, whatever, like I have not fought or anything, but most of the other people on this podcast have. And so my question is, one, do you believe he didn't spar with anybody? And two, can you actually compete at this high level and not spar before you're reclaiming your featherweight title?
Truth be told, having been a former competitor myself and having fought through adversity and injuries and so forth, it is not uncommon to go into a fight having not sparred. Now, with that being said, I have never done it due to the fact that there's been a worldwide pandemic. that I've never fought, like I didn't fight through SARS, I didn't fight through any of that stuff, and I sure as hell haven't fought through COVID. So with that being said, I believe that there's some truth and some semblance to what he is saying. I believe that he's being truthful. I don't think he has sparred. I don't think that he has done anything to risk the chance of being taken off the card. He seems like the kind of individual who believes in himself so strongly that he would put himself through a grueling training camp via Zoom. It wouldn't surprise me if his coaches were just sitting back and watching him through the computer and just telling him what drills to do, telling him, different fight techniques and fight tactics and so forth. I could see that for him being beneficial. For me, I would have been confused as fuck and been like, okay, I'm just going to punch this air and you tell me if I'm doing it right, or I'm going to suplex this bag by my lonesome and you let me know if this is the ground and pound techniques that I should use. That wouldn't necessarily work for me, but obviously Holloway is a completely different person because he's reached the upper echelon of sports combat, and I sure as shit didn't. So, so there's got to be some semblance there. Thoughts?
I feel like he's full of shit. What do you think, Justice?
It's two things. I think he's more or less saying that because maybe they were a lot more strict in Hawaii about, the gym rule and having people meet up. And he didn't want to get anybody in trouble. And he's pretty much now going to have to run with the lie. Because if he did not spar, if he did not have any training partners, he's in trouble.
See,
I don't know, man.
I don't know, man. You got to think this cat is in a completely different level than most people. And what I mean by that, I truly, truly believe that, there may be more to the story that we're not getting. His idea of sparring may be a little bit different than what we're thinking. He might have had people come over to his house and spar in his garage or in his basement, and then just pawning that off like, oh yeah, I didn't spar at all in the gym, ... the gym. But at my house, different story. Who knows? It's like Justice was saying. He might have to put that facade on because of the rules and regulations in Hawaii in regards to, the social distancing and in the training and stuff for COVID. I just don't buy it in my heart of hearts that you could be up to this level in the UFC, the echelon of MMA, and you're not doing anything to push yourself for like a 5-round fight. I don't buy it. I really don't. So I think that he's doing something, but I think whatever it is that he's doing is either going to be considered unconventional, completely different, or he might be on some Ferguson shit and just be doing some off-the-wall shit. But he's definitely putting in the work somehow, because there's no way you're going to go in there against Volkanovski having only shadow boxed. I just don't. I don't buy. Yeah, that I do not buy at all.
And not even to mention, dude, you're reclaiming your belt like that you just lost.
Exactly. So I truly believe he's doing something. Now I'm trying to read between the lines of what he's saying. Now, like I said in the beginning of my rant, this cat is at the upper echelon of MMA. He is literally where fighters dream to be. So clearly, he's done and is doing something right. We don't know exactly what he's doing in terms of his training camp. Maybe for all intent purposes, maybe he's not, quote-unquote, sparring per se. Or maybe they have a different verbiage that they're using for sparring to get by any, like I said, any Hawaiian rules or regulations. Maybe instead of sparring, they're, I don't know, aggravated touch butt. I don't know, but they're clearly doing something. Like there's no way, no possible way that I could think of, either just using common sense or thinking back to my days of fighting in the ring or the cage. I can't think of a moment in time where, unless I had an injury, unless I was dog shit sick, or if everybody around me was just nowhere to be found, that I could not find someone to put some rounds in. Because the rounds are important. The rounds are very important.
Yeah.
And like McGriddles was saying, you're going to try to get your belt back. The likelihood of you doing that with no help whatsoever, I just don't buy it. I don't buy that. I believe he's doing something.
If he said it in like a just like a one-off thing, but Justice linked us to like the actual interview with Ariel Helwani, and he sounded like very sincere in this interview. It wasn't like tongue-in-cheek, like wink, wink, fucking giggle, giggle kind of shit, dude. Like it sounded like when I first saw him post that link, I was like, yeah, fucking right. And then I actually watched the interview. I was like, holy shit, is this guy seriously going into this fight with no fucking sparring, no coach training? Like I could see him bullshitting it, dude, but he's a fucking Academy Award-winning actor if he pulled that off really good with Helwani.
Right.
I think we have to read between the lines in regards to what he's saying. Like for him to be like, oh yeah, I'm getting coached through Zoom. Okay, maybe he is. Maybe the assistant coach is sitting right outside of his garage, 6 feet away, as he's beating the crap out of some poor sparring partner, and the guy just happens to be holding his tablet. Maybe that's his idea of coaching through Zoom. Hard to say. We're not there. If I'm just going to go on record and say, if he does fight Volkanovski in a rematch with having not done any spar rounds with any sparring partners and having been coached in not a single move, technique, transition, or even game plan from any of his coaches, and then goes on to win this fight, he should automatically be handled not only his belt back, but go ahead and give this motherfucker a BMF title too. Because that is some boss-ass shit for you to go in there having put in no work other than the work you put in yourself and reclaim your title. You deserve that belt, the BMF title, a fight of the night bonus, and so much more.
I think styles make fights. I think Volkanovski has a style to beat him. That high pace, that high volume, the timing, the range. I think Volkanovski, with his kicks and his punching, I think he causes issues for Holloway.
I agree. I've said for years, the only way you're going to beat Holloway convincingly is you're going to have to outpace him. And Volkanovski proved that. In their first fight, it's not like he beat him from ring post to ring post. It's not like he beat the dog shit out of him or anything like that. He just outpaced him. And that's the method you have to take if you're going to fight someone like Holloway. You're going to have to outpace him because you can't just stand there toe-to-toe. He's going to land so many shots before you land one. You're going to have to not only match his pace and beat his pace and mix up your techniques. And that's exactly what Volkanovski did. How do you see this rematch going? You going Holloway or you going Volkanovski?
Volkanovski.
For me, it's another pick-em, man. Like, I rewatched their last fight yesterday. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, Holloway lost, but he wasn't, like, so fucking far behind. And he also just enjoyed the fact that he was the man for a little bit. And so he's young enough. I think he's fresh enough where if he comes back for his belt with a fucking vengeance, I think he can get it. But I think the biggest question mark is this COVID-19 bullshit. And did he actually fucking train for this in the way that he would conventionally train? Because I feel like if he actually could, and he's got the fire to get it back, he's young, then he could. But if this is what we're actually hearing is true, then I think Volkanovski wins.
Okay, all right. UTBABYA, how do you see it? Holloway or Volkanovski? Yep.
I think there's some reading in between the lines for the interviews that Holloway did, and I think he wants his belt back. I think he's going to get it. Okay. I think he's going to be close.
I think it's going to be crazy close. I think it's going to be another close fight, much like their first one. And as much as it pains me to say, because I'm a huge Holloway fan, but I think Volkanovski takes it a second time. I think Volkanovski is going to do to Holloway, to a lesser extent, what Holloway did to Aldo twice. I think Volkanovski is going to outpace him. I think he's going to outwork him. I don't think he's going to TKO him. I don't think he's going to knock him out, but I do think he's going to outpace him. If I had to choose and guess, I would give Holloway 2 rounds out of 5. I know, bold claim.
Going down like that.
Bold claim. Now, gentlemen, I think that pretty much sums up where we stand with the main card in regards to 251. We're going to take a quick 2-second break, and when we come back, we'll discuss the passing of Khabib's dad. for those of you who don't know, Khabib's father just recently passed away due to complications of COVID, I believe. What are your thoughts on that? How do you feel that that's not only going to affect him moving forward, but do you see him still being the same dominant fighter after such a loss? Floor is open.
The first thing that stands out to me, one, obviously completely devastating. Your heart goes out to him. Both my parents, knock on wood, are alive, and so I can't even imagine that kind of loss. But who was it Curtis Blades? No, not Curtis Blades. Somebody recently had their daughter die in like a crazy murder, and then it kind of like shut in their fight. But long story long, I hope he takes like the sensible amount of time off that the guy needs and doesn't rush into there, with some emotional, which I can completely understand. But, don't be like, hey, my father died, so I'm going to jump in there and fight the best in the world immediately. I mean, I wish him the best in the world. I hope he takes the time off. But yeah, dude, that just sucks, dude. There's no way around how devastating that is. And thank God I have not had to deal with it. But, my parents are getting older, so I can kind of see what's on the horizon. But man, I mean, that is such a tough fucking thing to deal with.
The fighter you were thinking of was Walt Harris.
Walt Harris, yes. Who was it was a stepdaughter was like murdered when she went to a gas station or something, right?
Correct. Yeah, that was rough. Having lost my old man, I know the pain and I know the hardship of what it's like to not only lose a parent, but lose a coach, but also lose one of your biggest supporters in terms of competing and fighting. When my old man passed, it completely changed how I did everything. I mean, like I said, everyone handles loss differently. For me, my old man passed away when I was 16. So for me, that was literally at the height of me just going on my tear of fights. And I brought with me inside of, the ring or inside of the cage or on the mat, just an absolute ferocity towards anybody standing across from me. I was just deathly angry, violently angry. And I think my old coach summed it up best. After my old man passed, when I would show up for tournaments or fights, I came here to fight someone, anyone, everyone. And all the emotion and all the anger that I brought with me, everyone was going to feel it. And unfortunately, it caused me to fight reckless at times. From on an amateur level, I was able to get away with a lot of bullshit that I definitely wouldn't be able to pull off if I was fighting in the UFC, because I was fighting entirely with anger, fighting entirely with emotion. I was just a ball of rage. And like I said, it caused me to do some dumb shit. And at the same time, that rage and that anger also helped me get out of positions that I probably wouldn't have been able to normally fight my way out of. So it's definitely a double-edged sword. I would, the best piece of advice I could give for Khabib is I would hope he would take all the time that he needs and not be rushed or forced to come back and try to defend his title just to appease the Just Bleed gods, or to make Dana happy, or even for the fans. Because like I said, just speaking for myself as someone who has lost their father, I wish I had taken that time to just get my shit together emotionally first before stepping back into the ring. That's just my 2 cents in regards to it. R.I.P. to his dad. I hope Khabib is getting all the attention and love and nourishment, as well as peace and solitude that he can possibly get, because I know it's a trying time and I know it's hard. With that being said, I hope he can bounce back, and I absolutely hope he does it on his own time, on his own merit, at his own will. And if he can't, hot take, but if he can't, I would rather see him relinquish the title than to just become a human punching bag for people, because he's not fighting with the proper mindset and he's not fighting with the proper emotions of a champion.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's kind of tough to deal with, dealing with loss of a loved one, to go into a fight or a training camp. I want him to take the time off. I know him and Daniel DC Cormier are pretty cool. I would love for Daniel to kind of take over and take more of the reins and just tell him, hey, Khabib, just take time off. The belt's going to be there. I don't think Dana would strip him immediately unless it's like 2 years on the line. But interim, let him do interim fights and just let him gather his thoughts. I mean, you lost a coach, a father, mentor, pretty much just everything. In the Islamic culture for them, the youngest, which I think he's one of the younger ones, so he's pretty much still staying with his parents with him and his wife and kids. So he's there with them most of a lot of the time, and I know that's tough.
I would be surprised if he rushes to get back in. I think mourning loss of a loved one is going to be an important thing, especially in a culture that's so tightly wound around a family unit, the way that his is. So I would be surprised if he's back in the ring in any short amount of time.
I definitely hope he takes the time, man, because like I said, I would hate to see him rush to come back because he thinks or makes himself believe that he's over it and can work through it just to get completely pieced up or starched up by someone that he would normally walk through. I would hate to see his legacy tarnished like that.
I agree.
Yeah, and not only that, and then you have to remember too that he tough time as well. I mean, we talk about a whole camp that lost a coach. Same way, same thing happened with Team Quest and Robert Fowler's a little while back. You lose a coach, that's a lot.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, with that being said, not only was it the loss of his dad, it was also the loss of his coach too. Moving forward, if you don't mind me asking, gentlemen, do you see anybody being able to really step up and coach him the same way, or at least on par or on level as his dad did?
DC, obviously, I think him and DC have that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't know how much Javier does on the day to day. I know I heard I've read stories where people said Bob Cook handles a lot of things. I know DC runs like the wrestling practice at AKA on certain days, and I think that DC has that IQ where he could do. I think DC would be a great coach for Khabib. I think he knows him very well. He knows how he operate, and I think he could, with some time could get him there. But it wouldn't be. I wouldn't see him trying to, step in and run a camp in the next 6 weeks or 8 weeks.
Right.
We talking about 6 months, a year down the line, just kind of getting the feel for it, and maybe 2021 we seeing DC as his head coach, fully retired. DC's retiring it,
Right. Yeah, it's definitely it's close to home for me. Like when I first read the headlines, and I was like, oh man, Khabib's dad passed away. That's heavy shit. And it took me back down memory lane with my dad, and it made me think like it was very hard for me to open up and allow other individuals to coach me, because my dad had literally coached me from the day I learned how to walk up until the day that he died. And the life lessons that he instilled in me, I still use today, when I'm coaching other fighters or when I'm cornering people. One of the first things my old man, expressed to me was, no matter how important the fight is, no matter how big the fight is, no matter how much is on the line, you gotta have fun. And the moment you stop having fun, and the moment you start treating this like a job, that's when you're going to start making mistakes. And that's when you're going to start not fighting to the best of your ability. And you can see with Khabib, when he fights, he's having a fucking blast in there. Whether he's getting a spinning head kicked by Barbosa, 3 times by the way, and walking through all 3 of those and still getting that takedown, or if he's getting pieced up by Michael Johnson just to take him down and fucking twist his arm off, you can tell he's having a blast in there. He's having fun. Rarely ever do you ever see him just coming out of character. Well, except for after the counter fight, but that's some whole other shit. But for the most part, he's always being cool, always calculated, always professional, and I hope that he can maintain this moving forward. That if not, in all honesty, I'd rather see him relinquish that title than to tarnish that legacy. And we've seen it time and time again. Fighters, for whatever reason, they'll go through something in their personal life, then they'll come back and they're just not the same fighter. Or that ferocity is gone, or the fight IQ is gone, and you start making simple mistakes that slowly but surely take you off your game. Oh, I just not realized Deku is here. What's up, brother? How you doing, man? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm actually having a pretty good day.
That's what's up, man. You want to chime in on this?
Yeah, this particular topic really, as you said, Ty, it hits home for me. Probably time maybe last one. My dad was world a couple of years ago. He pretty much coached me his whole, and like Ty alluded to, you're not just a fighter, but you're not the sport. You gotta get used to maybe a new coach or a new gym or hell even, and there's always something missing. You trying to, well, for me personally, I was just trying to keep the dream alive, and everything. And I think I took the wrong way. I went down the drinking route, the opposite you should go. And hearing things like that, when his dad passed away the other day, I would suggest him to get all the time, a year, 2, 3 years. And I feel like even if they do strip him of the title, when he does come back, he's going. So to me, either way, if they don't strip me, all right, that's cool. If they do, fine. I mean, when I get my head straight, I'm going to be fighting for a title once he comes back. And the thing about this whole situation is like, I mean, did Khabib really want to fight in this, like, what's going on in the world right now? Like, you gotta realize what's going on now is going on. And then you got Russia, which at one point, before all of this happened, closed their borders to everybody and everything. He thinking about his family back home, his dad, of course, whatever, cousins, and then he wanted to see if they was okay. I knew when the story broke out that when he was sick, well, before it was like Khabib just went home. We don't know why. It was because of Ramadan. I kind of knew something was up, like, even though me saying I don't think Khabib would want to fight in what's going on right now in the world, but I just knew something was eerily different, that people were saying Ramadan, but Ramadan. So it's just, what I'm trying to say is, like, his dad passing away, I believe he should take all the time and love on his family, the things that he may or may not took for granted. Maybe he's really thankful for him right now. And I would love to see him again because he's an entertaining fighter. Like Ty said, he's out there, having fun, doing what he loves and, getting paid for it. And most of that he has to thank is his father for just getting him the way he was raised, getting him sport. And I also do agree with Justice when he said DC should be his head coach. Because like he said, I don't know how often. I mean, it seems like him and Javier are close, but him and DC they have a different type of bond. Like when that fiasco happened with Connor and him, DC was the only person to calm him down. Nobody else could get him to calm down. Not Javier, not Bob, not any of his countrymen. It was DC the one to pretty much get him to calm down. And he was pretty much the mediator between Dana and Khabib. Right. Because Khabib wasn't trying to hear anything Dana was saying or whatever. And I figured at that point, Khabib was like, you an enemy too, because you letting all this shit happen, buses getting thrown at, and a whole bunch of slew of shit that Connor, which I think we can all agree, gets away with a lot of shit and everything. And DC was the one that could calm him down. I agree. Nobody else. So I believe it should be DC to be his head. I don't think he should jump right into it. Corner a few people here and there, get a feel for it. I'm pretty sure he's cornered people, No, I'm sure. In his fighting. Yeah, I'm sure he has. So, just get used to doing it or whatever. And then when the fight presents itself, corner, which I think he's right now, mainstream, I think he's one of the best minds that we have in our sport. And next to, like, other people like McGriddles and stuff like that. But I definitely believe he should take all the time in the world, and DC should be his. Definitely. Anybody else have anything they wanted to add to this? All right, well, in that case, we're going to go ahead and bypass our normal segment of what are we eating, what are we drinking. We're going to take a small break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the bankruptcy and or receivership of Glory.
that jingle. All right. In other news today, breaking news. Actually, not even today, but during this week, come to find out that Glory, which I think most of us already knew, is struggling financially. I don't think this really comes as a shock to anybody, especially since over the last handful of months and years they've been losing a lot of their key fighters, such as Nikki Holson, Joe Schilling, and just a slew of others to name. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Do you think this is the end of Glory? And if so, do you think somebody should come in and take them over? Or do you think they should just close the doors permanently? Now, I have a hot take in regards to what I feel or what I would like to see happen to Glory. And I'll go ahead and let you guys speak first before I drop my 2 cents on it.
Okay. Go ahead.
I will say this. I don't want to, because at one point there was the only kickboxing, stand-up striking organization that you could actually turn on to at the time, Spike TV. You know, you don't have to go online to this streaming whatever and fight or whatever. It was on U.S. national television or international. But like, this was the first in a very long time that this has happened. I feel like, you know, it was just weird because they just had this big boom at one point, and we were all happy. We're, you know, whatnot, but we all see this coming. It was losing stars left and right. Nikki Holskin, Joe Schilling, Raymond Daniels. The list goes on, and I feel like it really plummeted after Tyrone Fong pretty much went into retirement.
Really? You think that was the downfall?
Yeah, after he was like, I'm done fighting, it feel like everybody else just trickled off like bail. Well, they can't afford Tyrone's phone. They definitely, you know, he's out. Let me be out, because it ain't no. That's why he went straight to boxing. Why Nikki went straight to boxing, because it was a little bit more money, and they just couldn't afford the big names. You know, I mean, I don't blame them. You've been fighting kickboxing for Muay Thai for a long time and all over the world, and you expect them to get paid the amount, good money. And now they're telling you, oh, we got to pay you a little bit lesser. And if I'm like not losing fights or whatever, and you tell me you got to pay me a little bit lesser, I'm gonna be a little upset too.
Okay,
you know?
Interesting take. All right, McGriddles.
All right. The good news and bad news about Glory Kickboxing. The good news is people will see Nikki Holskin and these other people again. The bad news is Glory is fucking donezo. So in recent MMA news, they're like, Glory filed bankruptcy, and then there's like, no, they only did a receivership, and they act like that's like better than the bankruptcy.
It's really not.
Like
it's
with
really not.
And like I tried to look into this for where they were. And I found out that like Glory is quote unquote out of the Netherlands. They're incorporated in Singapore.
Yep.
And then they have fucking, you know, obviously business here. And so just to fucking provide background for anybody for my nonsense, like, I'm a special education attorney in North Carolina, so I have nothing to do with any of this kind of law shit. But I looked into it, and I'm interested in it. But so basically, if Glory wasn't looking for special education services for a child in North Carolina, like, my opinion means nothing, which it does. But anyway, so Glory files for bankruptcy, and then they're like, oh, it's a receivership. And the best way I can describe receivership is like mediation when you're in civil litigation. So, like, you're about to sue somebody, and they're like, hey, let's not have court involvement. Let's do mediation.
Right.
And receivership is like the same thing for bankruptcy. And the bottom line is, whether it's bankruptcy or receivership, all of their assets are now in control of somebody else. They had their CEO step down. And the reason I mention it is because there was like MMA news sites were like, oh, they filed bankruptcy. Oh, no, it's not so bad. It's a receivership. It's just as bad.
It's horrible.
Like, all your shit, all your assets are owned by this company. And to clarify with an exclamation point or an asterisk, like a receivership can look in like so many different ways. Like I haven't looked at anything that looks that could really give me like the whole breadth of the situation. So like it could be like, you know, their rings, their lights, and all these other actual physical assets, or is it their actual operating accounts?
From what I can, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, from what little bit that I've looked into it, man, they are hemorrhaging money, and they are hemorrhaging money in ways that honestly made a lot of the kickboxing organizations of yesterday, such as like K1, look glorified. I mean, these guys are literally trying to plug the Hoover Dam with an adhesive bandage. Like, I want to say just off last year alone, they lost 150 million USD just in operation costs. Operation costs, that's insane. Operation costs is like, you know, your catering and your fucking lights and you getting your venues and so forth. You lost 150 million on that? Man, that's brutal. No wonder so many of your fighters are jumping ship, because you can't pay them. You can't pay them at all.
And it comes down to, are the Glory founders going to fund this thing after the pandemic? And I found some interesting things when I was looking into the people who own Glory. The main guy is Pierre Andron, and he is a French businessman, a hedge fund manager specializing in the oil market. And he is a major player in Forbes magazine, one of the 20 highest earning hedge fund managers. Mm-hmm. And he makes what is known as fuck you money to the rest of us, which is actually even beyond fuck you money. Looking into this guy, when K1 was actually going out, he stepped in and offered to just basically fucking fund K1. And there was some beef, and he didn't get it, but he ended up creating Glory after this. Mm-hmm. But he is like a player in the game. He is not like on a level that we can like comprehend. He is like he's a international oil player of hedge fund shit. And it's basically just some rich guy who created this shit. But when this gets interesting, okay, so long story long, Glory was founded by a super rich oil guy, and he can fucking make another Glory if he wants to. Like, Glory was like when you're talking about asset protection, Glory has like its own corporation. So like even when Glory files for bankruptcy, or they're in this receivership shit, nothing that is going after Glory's assets is ever going to touch this dude. And this is how you set up asset protection. Like, nothing Glory does have any effect on this thing, on him. But what made me really interested in this case, because I feel like this guy absolutely knew Glory was going under last year, and he knew about this virus in a weird way. So let me read you an excerpt from his Wikipedia page, which is sourced, for his 2020 COVID pandemic world oil price slump. It says, in an interview with Financial Times, Orand said that COVID-19 had become his singular area of focus since earlier 2020, when he spent 2 weeks studying the spread of the disease, as most hedge fund managers do. Orand claimed that it was clear to him from February that the virus was going to spread to the rest of the world, that it was contagious, and that the potential death toll meant there was no other way than to enforce a lockdown. And then he positioned his two funds to bet against the oil price in the belief that the energy would be one of the hardest hit sectors. As of May of 2020, one of his funds was up 150% for the year, which means he doubled and a half his money in oil ever since this lockdown thing. And so what that has to do with Glory in the World Series is, I think a lot of people are thinking like, okay, Glory is they're running into hard times. Obviously, they don't have any shows. Obviously, no gates, no television advertising, no pay-per-view, nothing. And yeah, Glory is done. Glory is not coming back, regardless if it's receivership or bankruptcy. Well, actually, I'll change that for a second. If this guy wants Glory to survive, then it will survive. But what might make more sense for them is to just cut their losses, burn it with their liability protection, and start a new one. But the bottom line is this dude is a sketchball. He is an international oil player. And if he wants kickboxing, guess what? There's going to be fucking kickboxing. And so it doesn't matter if Glory's there or anybody else, which Glory was their best attempt at the North American market. But long story long, this dude, the same way that we're trying to start Muay Thai technical bouts, that's how this dude probably thinks about Glory.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
And so this motherfucker is Glory from the get-go was just a rich man's Corvette he keeps in his garage. He shows his friends it, and it's going to exist after it. So Glory's going down. I seriously doubt it's going to come back. It might come back, but I don't think they built the brand name enough for them to justify it.
No.
I think they just ran themselves.
I agree. UTBABYA, what are your thoughts?
So, so the guy is actually, I am on the fence as to whether or not he's a Bernie Madoff type figure. So look at some of the returns that his funds got, especially in the early days. Mm-hmm. He was getting 900% for some of his real sketchball return numbers. He basically was a swimmer all through. I guess he was a decent swimmer, high school and college and whatever. He's got 6 PhDs or masters of various different maths and science disciplines. But I guess this guy took up kickboxing when he was starting at Goldman Sachs, just to stay in shape, and that's where he kind of fell in love with combat sports. And McGriddles said, this is Glory basically just started Glory as his own little Sunday car, for his own entertainment. So I have no idea what he's gonna do. Just start up another one if he wants, or splash the pot with Glory. I don't know what's going to happen.
I'm glad you brought that up, because this is how I see this playing out in my mind. Aside from his sketchball, businesses and his hedge fund accounts and all that, he himself is going to be fine. So I really don't give a shit in regards to him at all. In terms of the Glory brand, the company Glory, or even what Glory brings to the world in terms of kickboxing, I think it's safe to say that they're just about done. You might as well just go ahead and put a fucking fork in them. They're done. What I would love to see happen, and again, this is hot take, I would love to see K1 come in and buy Glory. I would like to see them take over Glory, take over all their contracts. I would like to see K1 take over all of Glory's television deals worldwide. And the reason why I say that is because I would love to see an attempt by K1 to return to their original glory, case in point, of where they were before. I would say early to late 90s. Right now, the UFC app, or I shouldn't say the app, but Fight Pass, they play the regular K1 World Grand Prix from its incarnation up to its last event, but they don't have the Max on there. So clearly K1 still owns the rights to K1 Max. I would love to see them come in, take over Glory, get cats like, Holtzen, Schilling, get Peter Aerts back on some of their cards and some legacy matches against the Lebaners of the world, and really rebrand K1. Maybe even potentially get a TV deal. Now, I'm not saying that by them doing that's guaranteed that they're going to blow up. Let me clear the air on that now. Kickboxing in the United States is a tough sell. It's been a tough sell for years. Kickboxing is no longer the moneymaker that it was for a short handful of years in its heyday, in its prime. There was a time where American-style kickboxing was headlining Madison Square Garden and big events and big arenas like that, but those days are long gone. Glory was the closest that we came to the heyday of kickboxing. And if K1 could come in, put in the production values that they were doing back in the 90s, when K1 was a household name, when most of us couldn't even watch K1, but we could only read the highlights or see the clips I'm sure all of us remember the clip of, I can't remember the Thai dude's name, but the fight in Glory where my man jumped up in the air and basically kicked Mighty Mo's head clean off his shoulders. We all remember that picture, that beautiful picture of this Thai airborne wrapping his shin around Mighty Mo's head and him just falling down and dying. If we could get to moments like that again on American television, I think that would help bring viewers back to kickboxing. And that's ultimately what kickboxing is missing here in the States. We're missing stars. We're missing a venue to genuinely watch these stars on. And we're missing the real deal production values. Now, you can say whatever you want about Glory in regards to their shady business practices and so forth. Their production was beautiful. When they first showed up on Spike TV, oh man, their vignettes were gorgeous. HD 4K cameras and shit. It looked like the echelon of kickboxing. And for a brief moment, it was. And then, unfortunately, that's when all the shit started to hit the fan. You start hearing about fighters not getting paid. You start hearing about the shady practices. And I think one of the things that shot Glory in the foot, and I'm sure Justice Magnificent can back me up on this one, they did a lot of hand-holding. They really stirred the pot in regards to who they wanted to be champion and who they wanted to see fight. There was a lot of questionable decisions. There was a lot of questionable plays. And let's call it what it is. How many times can you
like
watch?
the UFC?
How many times can you watch Holtzman beat the same 3 or 4 dudes over and over and over and over and over again? They shallowed out their own talent pool, which was unfortunate. And now this is where I think that, well, I should say this is how ONE FC came into the picture in regards to, you know what, we're going to start some kickboxing too, and we're going to slowly but surely start taking your best fighters because we can actually give them matches against other people than the same people over and over again. And I think that was one of the things that separates ONE FC, or I should say ONE Kickboxing versus Glory. Yeah, Bellator tried it, but let's call it what it is. Bellator Kickboxing was literally here today, gone today. Nobody really cared about their events. They weren't really entertaining at all. Matter of fact, they didn't really have their own events. They just piggybacked off of an already pre-existing Bellator card that was taking place, like in the same event or the same venue. Not exactly the best way to push, an event. Not exactly the best way to push your quote-unquote number 1 or number 2 kickboxing company in the United States. That was pure trash. I think what ONE is doing with their kickboxing is pretty genius. Unfortunately, ONE is not in everybody's household. ONE is not quite the household name just yet. But what is a household name that all of us can not only remember, we can recite, but we also have fond memories of, and that's K1. I would love to see K1 just swoop in, take over. I mean, I know it's obviously easier said than done to take over the financial burden of Glory, obviously. But I would love to see them come in, take over Glory, rebrand it as K1, utilize their television deals, utilize the different markets they have all over the world, and start putting on smaller events with name fighters and higher production. I think if K1 can do that, they would climb back up from the ashes and be the number 1 kickboxing promotion worldwide again, like they used to be. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, the guy who owns Glory was the guy who was gonna buy K1.
Right.
And I agree that the best way for kickboxing to explode in North America, which explode is a fucking seriously loose word I use, it is with K1, because that has the most name brand recognition with pretty much anybody in the world for kickboxing.
Yes.
And so I think that's an amazing idea, that they should definitely bring back Glory as K1. They should definitely investigate how they can go about getting that brand, because apparently they tried and it didn't work. And I think they might have sold their rights for K1 to somebody.
Yeah, K1 is now owned by a Chinese company. I want to say that their headquarters are now based out of Hong Kong. They put on smaller shows now. What they do now is actually kind of smart. They put on smaller shows, they have regional shows, they have local shows, and they have shows in Macau, which is like their version of Las Vegas over in China. And, one of the things that they do that's really genius is they're not trying to take the world over by storm. They already know that they have the name value. They know that K1 is synopsis all over the world. Everyone knows K1. So what they do is smart. They don't focus on any of the heavyweights. They're still focused on Max and Justice. Do you remember what the weight class was for K1 Max?
154.
154. That's pretty much what they're focusing on now. You don't really see them focusing on anything heavier than that. They're primarily focusing on that and lighter weights, because obviously those put on the more entertaining fights. Those little fuckers just love to scrap. If they can do that and bring that stateside, and then slowly but surely reintroduce, your middleweights, your welterweights, your heavyweights, I truly think they would have a really viable source. I mean, obviously
here's my take on it, and I'm gonna take McGriddles' position now. I'm gonna be the negative guy. The problem with K1 taking over Glory and setting up shop in the United States or North America for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Name one K1 World Grand Prix champion from North America.
Ooh. You really put me on the spot right now.
World Grand Prix, not local, not the North America World Grand Prix.
From North America?
Canada, United States, Mexico, wherever. Tell me one.
Okay. They're shit. Actually, I can't. Does Mark Hunt count?
Nope, Mark Hunt is Australian. No,
shit, that's right.
He does not. You can't, and that's the problem. We have no one. We had no one then to kind of take over that limelight to say, "Hey, I'm one of the biggest names in kickboxing." You had guys coming over from other countries fighting in the K1 USA tournament to get into the K1 Grand Prix.
Right.
Winning that tournament to get into the Grand Prix. We were getting smoked as far as North Americans were concerned in K1. Damn. Even in Glory, you have a few names here and there. They're not really in American champions.
That's why we're waiting for you, Justice, to slay him.
I know, right? What's up there, Deku? Stop bullshitting. Go win this thing.
Go ahead.
Really, to be honest with you, I can't really see it. I would love, from a fan of kickboxing, I would love for K1 to take over for Glory, but I just don't really see it happen. And Justice, he made a good point.
Justice just shit on my whole argument. Like, I stood on that soapbox and preached my heart out.
I love any type of kickboxing, and I'm all for it and everything, but it's not even just U.S., but nobody on really.
Well, this is my fear.
America, that's like, because I know with the United States, they're gonna want to be, number one in the world. What about our guys? We have no guys.
No, and you're right, and Justice is right too. My biggest fear is once the doors of Glory closes, and let's say another organization doesn't come bail them out, or let's say K1 doesn't buy them, what are we left with in terms of kickboxing here for the state's mainstream? What we'll be left with is what? Lion Fight? And let's call it what it is.
Go ahead.
Lion Fights, I mean, they're a great organization, but no one's clamoring to watch Lion Fight. There's no lines of people outside like, man, I can't wait to watch Smoking Joe destroy another tomato can. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. Like,
that's why they took it off of Access TV, because, nobody was really at the arena.
With Access TV, there was a little more to it than that with Access TV. A lot of people don't realize, but Access TV ended up getting bought by Anthem Sports. Anthem Sports is the parent company behind TNA Impact. Since TNA Impact couldn't last on a channel, what they did was they took some of their surviving assets and pooled their money together and actually bought Access TV. That's how TNA Impact now has a channel. And by doing that, what they did is they kicked off all of the other programming that would take ratings away from Impact. That's why they took off LFA, Lion Fight, and a number of other combat-related sports. Even though the smarter play would have been to do what Spike TV did back in the day, is have all that shit on one channel and let that be your combat sports channel.
Yeah, before I forget, go ahead. Before I forget, sorry.
Go ahead,
dude. I have this weird lag where, like, when I talk, like you're talking like a second behind me, it just fucks me up. But anyway. Glory, my prediction is Glory is the first of many, if not the vast majority of fight organizations to cave during this. Like, I don't think any fight organization can survive this coronavirus bullshit, except for the very tippy top. And so when you see Glory is done in the news, get ready for every week. You're going to see another one. That's my prediction.
It's a fair prediction. I think the trouble with Glory started long before the pandemic. I think this was an easy way out for them. I think this was an easy way for them to try to justify.
You're absolutely right. I forgot to mention that in December, they had their last event, I think December 2019. And then still today, they're saying that all the people who fought in December have not been paid. Like, crew has not been paid.
Exactly.
Like, and that's why I was trying to point out this fucking sketchball oil dude is fucking telling everybody in January, oh yeah, it's going to be the big world pandemic. Like, before anybody knows, he knows. And I feel like he's going to piggyback on some bailout shit from wherever fucking country he's at. And fucking... He knew before. He knew that thing was going to go under, and this was their out. It just is so weird to me. This guy was like, oh, yeah, everything's going to be virus. Everything has to be locked down. He's saying this in, like, fucking February. It was just super weird to me.
To be fair, anyone on Twitter got to see this coming in late or early February. It was pretty obvious. But I actually think he might have started Glory specifically to have a place to basically launder his losses through.
Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me at all. It would actually be a genius, tactic. At the end of the day, it's honestly, easier to lose Glory than lose one of your other big money makers. Smart tactic on his part.
Yeah, dude, this guy is on the Forbes oil trader list, dude. He's got connections and he knows shit. I would not doubt what UTBABYA is saying for a second.
So with that being said, let's go around the table. So, do we save Glory or do we just let it burn? I would personally like to see K1 come in and save it, and if it's not K1, fuck it, let it burn. Next.
I don't think it's going to be K1, bro. I think they're going to rename it because the people who own Glory already tried to get K1, and so. I think it's going to come back from the ashes in a different name, but it could not, dude. Okay. Because they're in receivership, which receivership is like a fucking outside of the court arrangement to start paying your debts. And to this guy, it probably doesn't mean so much. Like I can't imagine what their debts are that are just beyond this guy's fucking means, especially when he made 154% of his oil investment this year after coronavirus.
So you're saying save it or burn it?
Dude, I think he could fund it. I think Glory could stay.
Okay,
like,
so you got to save it. All right.
It's up to their asset protection strategy. They could fucking cut their losses, create a new one, or keep Glory if they think the name is good enough.
Okay, so you say save it. Next.
There you go. I think One FC has one. Oh, go ahead.
I would say if K1 can't buy it, or I think maybe even One FC can just not just buy it or whatever, just get all their fighters, get them on the contract, bring them over to One FC, have them fight kickboxing one time.
Okay.
That's just if they don't do it, if those two organizations don't do it, they'll just burn it.
All right, so you're saying let it burn if it can't be saved. All right, UTBABYA.
I think they need to move all their competitions to a giant cave that has an entrance going downward from the ground and rebrand it as Glory Hole.
Nice.
There you go.
All right, Justice, save it or burn it.
I say burn it. Let One FC go ahead and continue their takeover.
Okay, hot take. I like it. All right, gentlemen, we're going to take a real quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be reviewing the 1992 classic Mission of Justice.
You have the right to remain silent.
He's a cop, out of options.
You crazy son of a bitch, you're out of here.
Out of uniform and out of control.
We're supposed to stop the bad guys, not process them. Now we've been hated by the same people we're supposed to protect.
Now he's a one-man wrecking machine on a mission of justice.
Let it begin.
From the executive producer of Internal Affairs and the producer of Deep Cover comes the hottest stars of martial arts. Jeff Wincott of Martial Law 2, undercover in the series Night Heat. Karen Shepard, two-time women's black belt kata champion. Matthias Hughes of Star Trek 6, Kickboxer 2, Talons of the Eagle, and Black Belt. And Brigitte Nielsen of Beverly Hills Cop 2, Rocky 4, and Cobra. Mission of Justice. Available only from Republic Pictures.
Oh, man, and we are back. Who would like to take the bull by the horns and give a synopsis of this wonderful gem of 1992?
I'll be there. So you tell me that woman that played the evil person on this movie is Bridget Nielsen, one of Flavor Flav's girlfriend that they had on a reality show or whatever the fuck it was?
Yep.
That's her.
That's her.
That old wrinkly lady.
That's
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
That is her. This is after Rocky IV and after Red Sonja, where she was still considered one of the most beautiful women walking the planet.
The fuck up. She was in Rocky. That was her in Rocky IV?
Yeah, that was her in Rocky IV, dude.
No way.
Just killing my vibe right now.
It's almost mind blowing to know that she went from that to how she looked on the Flavor of Love show. It doesn't even make sense.
It'll always be Red Sonja to me.
Other than the fact that cocaine is a hell of a drug.
I was only able to get about 25 minutes into this movie so far. I can't guarantee that I'm going to watch a single second more.
You won't miss anything.
I will say, in Jeff Wincott definitely moves better than Chuck Norris.
You bastard! Those are fighting words, man.
I know, but it's true.
Bro. I can hear you grinning, McGriddles. I know you want in on this. He's like, I'm baiting mine.
Yes, I do. Okay, so what most people have said is absolutely correct. This movie is a colossal piece of shit. But one of the things that really stuck out to me. Okay, so the guy who looks like Chris Cuomo in this movie, like when I saw, like I don't even remember the fucking main actor's face. Ty knows him, like he's seen every one of his movies, which he probably has.
Oh yeah.
But the guy looks like Chris Cuomo, and so I was like, dude, this is his fever dream in the coronavirus. And he's the defender of the city. Like, dude, they never actually explain really what the bad lady's motivations are.
Nope.
And so Bridget Nielsen is trying to become the mayor, which is the lamest fucking political act. The lamest fucking thing you could try to aspirate to is the mayor. And I actually did some research about this, and I was very surprised. What do you all think the mayor of Charlotte, North Carolina makes in a given year? What's her salary?
Probably,
guesses.
I would say about 40,000.
Any other guesses?
I don't know. Shit, never really thought about that.
I'll say next round.
Go ahead. I already might have ruined it.
No.
I hope I'm not interrupting. But yeah, dude, the mayor of Charlotte makes less than $30,000 allegedly. And so when I was thinking of this movie, I was like, dude, why does this woman want to become mayor? And then there's like, like one of the main characters. So this starts off with the murder of a black guy, and I know a black guy, and I know he has a kickboxing gym. And so I wanted to ask you, Taz. Has any nefarious government agency ever tried to come to you to recruit your fighters for their political cause?
All the time. And I know I'm not supposed to say this, but secretly, members of H8L are actually members of the Foot Clan.
Okay. I knew that like at least weekly you got the offers. Dude, when you look at the like IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, they say this movie is about a racist, neo-fascist person who tries to become mayor. But if you watch this movie, like, yeah, she kills black people, but there's
She
never
killed
actually any kind of declaration
like
of
one
purpose
black
for
dude.
anything.
Yeah,
I just miss everything.
And I was saying, she kills like one black dude. Like I didn't see the neo-Nazi nefarious entity. I didn't see any of that. I actually saw more racism in that Avenging Force movie we reviewed last time than this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, my biggest thing with this movie. Okay, so Chris Cuomo has this coronavirus fever dream, and he's like, they're stopping the people at the liquor store or whatever. And then the peacemakers stop him. Then the police chief inexplicably kicks him off the force because the non-cops help him stop the crime, which makes no sense. And then he goes on and he leaves the force. He joins these people because when Taz in the movie, when the Taz character is killed in the gym, They leave this white flower, and then he sees the white flower on Bridget Nielsen's fucking shirt in the fucking television. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go investigate these people."
And that's all the proof he needs.
Dude, it's just so much. Not okay. The biggest, baddest, most ridiculous, fucked up scene is okay. So the guy Chris Cuomo, after Taz dies, he's going to Bridget Nielsen. And he's like infiltrating, and he's one of her henchmen. He's one of the peace justice people who are always wearing yin yang, so it like totally confuses the viewer as to why are these the fascists beating people up? They're wearing yin yangs, but whatever. And so the main character, who's like the police force, I got off it because you guys weren't so cool, whatever. He's the one who goes to the garage after the Justice Commission, where the fuck it's called. They go there and try to get like extortion money for like a gang. Like they go to like the Mexican chop shop and they're like, "Give us your fucking money," and then they say no. And then our main character, the main character of the movie, goes there after he's infiltrated the bad guys, shoots a man in the chest with a shotgun, and lynches a motherfucker in that garage. And he's supposed to be undercover. It's like, dude, at this point, you're just as bad as anybody who's ever been introduced in this fucking thing. Mm-hmm. It just made absolutely no sense. And then I'll finish after this one point. Motherfucking the Jim Gaffigan police chief comes in here. He's not actually Jim Gaffigan. He was, in my mind, he was. But he comes in and he's like, "You're under arrest." And this motherfucker is like, "Under what charges?" He literally says, "Under what charges?" as a man is hanging next to him. It's insane. But I relinquish the microphone.
Nice. Justice, your thoughts, sir?
Trash, man. like UTBABYA said, man, they're throwing punches and kicks and not even hitting it. I mean, no, that was Deku saying they're not even hitting anybody, man. They just
it's not even close.
Yeah, it's probably gonna get the worst rating out of all we've seen so far.
Oh, I can agree with that. So with that being said, let's go around. I give this movie a 1. 1 being absolute dog shit, 10 being the most soul obliterating slap to the nuts of pure entertainment that you've ever seen in your entire life. I have to give this movie a 1. Absolute dog shit. I think UTBABYA said it best. This movie is dog shit wrapped in burnt hair.
I give it a -1.
Nice, our first negative. All right, continue.
Yeah. I'll definitely, because I love movies like this that, you know, to show the overselling of the fight scenes and like the weird dumb shit, like from bad guy to good guy to in between. Everybody knows how to do a spinning back kick. Like that's what I feel like is not getting enough attention. So funny shit like that is like a comedy. It's a comedy to me. So I'm gonna give it, because it's funny as shit to me and it's terrible acting and overselling, I'm going to give it a 2.9.
Okay, almost a 3. All right, UTBABYA, you call it, sir.
Ooh.
Ooh. What is it, boo?
So, that's always a good sign when you start off with ooh.
I would love to give it a numerical value, but I don't want to disrespect the number line like that.
Okay.
I give it 15 poop emojis.
Oh wow. Okay. 15 poop emojis. All right. That I'm going to put that in the negative category with McGriddles there.
Dude, one thing about this movie, which I had to actually really dig into what the motivation of the bad people are, which are Bridget Nielsen. The whole point of this movie is they're trying to sell the grandmother's house of the first character you meet, and he's like a part of that thing. But they're trying to sell grandma's house, and they say like if you blink, you'll miss it. Like you have no basis for what these people are doing.
Yeah, it's basically a play. It's basically a play on gentrification.
But they say once you become mayor, you'll be able to sell this property. And I'm not going to bore everybody to death with zoning commissions and all this bullshit. But the whole premise is just like complete nonsense.
I definitely think it's safe to say that this movie was an absolute piece of shit, and I thoroughly enjoyed getting you guys to subject yourself to watch this movie. So with that being said, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, Justice Magnificent, I'm going to reach out to you for Technique of the Day, and after Technique of the Day, a trip down memory lane. The floor is yours, sir, for Technique of the Day.
Technique of the day. Well, it's not really a technique, but it's more of the scene at the end where he's combating these 50 or so stick fighters. And he throws the stick in the middle of the floor and proceeds to run and do a break fall through a bunch of guys with sticks. So the break fall is not something you would want to do when somebody's attacking you and you have multiple people. That does not look it does not look well for you running and rolling on the ground. It looks good in some movies, not this one, but it's in some movies it looks pretty good. This was terrible. The way he picked up the sticks and started swinging, and he hit one guy and made him do a complete 360. It was just cheesy and terrible. Would not work in any round whatsoever. That break fall, you will get shot or hit with a stick or something,
or just stomp the fuck out completely.
Yeah, I don't know why nobody, when he ran and jumped, I don't know why nobody just didn't stop and wait for him to stop and just hit him upside the head with a stick and just be like, okay, movie's over.
That's because it's the early 90s and everybody was on coke.
Oh yeah.
And nobody wants to get in trouble for hitting Cuomo across the head with a stick.
Yeah, I forgot about Chris Cuomo. I'm sorry. Yeah, you can't hit someone like that.
All right, my friend. Well, go ahead and take us down memory lane for our either underappreciated or forgotten organization and or fighter or person.
Alright, so since we talked about Glory early in the show, and we talked about K1, we're going to talk about K1. K1 was the first kickboxing organization in the world to go on a global stage to be recognized. At the time, the champions were recognized as some of the baddest stand-up fighters in the world, especially in the heavyweight division. Yeah, Ernesto Hoost, Peter Ertz, Andy Hug, and different fighters come from Muay Thai, Holland, Dutch backgrounds. Yeah, Mark Hunt, Ray Safu, these guys that came out of that organization. K1 was founded by a karate guy that came from Sato Kaikan, if I'm saying that correct.
You are.
Later bought out, I think it was bought out by Art Davie, who was one of the first owners of the UFC.
That's also
of FEG. So yeah, great organization, had a really high knockout ratio. You had guys like Mike Bernardo. Again, Mighty Mo getting knocked out, even though he has a lot of highlights. It was one of those organizations and one of those events. Like when you saw it on TV, you was like, man, is this what kickboxing or Muay Thai or these type of things is this what we're missing? And it was it. I mean, we had no North American champions. We had a couple of guys that were contenders, but nobody really.
Yeah, that is so sad to think about. I didn't even realize that about the no North American champions until you called me out on it. And in that brief moment, I forgot that Mark Hunt is not North American.
Yes, he is Australian, New Zealand, Australian. You remember the fight with him and Ray Selfo? I mean, they were going toe to toe.
They were trying to kill each other in that fight. K1 put on some great bouts.
I mean, you had Sammy Shield, who ran everything. He's 6'11" for years. Who else? I guess I'll say it. Alistair Overeem.
Damn right. I'll say one that it breaks my heart to say it, but anytime I talk K1, I have to bring it up. Let us not forget that K1 is the organization that first introduced the world to the charismatic enigma known as Bob Sapp.
Just about to say that. I knew you was going to say Bob Sapp.
The thrower of fights, but who actually legitimately holds 2 victories over the great Ernesto Hoost that I still, to this day, can't wrap my head around. Granted,
I'm upset.
Granted, he was juiced to the fucking gills and looked like he could run through walls and was the living embodiment of the juggernaut. But still, Ernesto Hoost at that time was, in my opinion, and I still hold him up there in such high regard, as one of the greatest kickboxers to ever walk the face of the planet.
This Dutchy combination is so fucking pretty. Like every time I see it, I get inspired to throw.
Dude, that combination has radiated worldwide, and there's so many people and their mother that do variations of that same combo that it's almost like synopsis with Dutch kickboxing.
And when he throws it, he just rips it off. So everything is just crispy. And yet smooth. I can't find one.
Yeah, it's definitely. I know one of his combinations that I try to emulate a lot is that left hook to the head, left hook to the body,
yep,
and rear leg kick where he just digs into your leg. It's so, for a heavyweight, it's so fucking fast. Like I remember when I first saw that combination for the first time, it was him, and I was like, why? I don't know what that was, but it was so fast, and he's put away a lot of people with just that combination. It's like with Mirko Cop, he has his, right leg hospital, left leg cemetery. That's what he was known for, or whatever. But when Ernesto, he did those 2 hooks through your head into your body, and that leg kick is, if it's not the starting of the end, it was the end.
I couldn't agree with you more. I also feel that K1 does not get the recognition that it deserves for helping to showcase Dutch kickboxing all over the world. Mm-hmm. A lot of people didn't know what Dutch kickboxing was until they started watching K1. And Justice, I thank you for this trip down memory lane. This was a fantastic pick. I mean, as you can tell, I can sing the praises of K1 for days. I still, till this day, hold them up as the #1 kickboxing organization in the world. And if K1 was still in its heyday today, and I was still competing today, that would be the organization that I would strive for. Fuck Glory, to hell with all these other organizations. I would strive for K1, because K1 had an uncanny ability of making household names out of you. The people that fought in K1 were rock stars in Japan. That is one thing that I will give Japan over just about any other country when it comes to combat sports athletes. Win or lose, good, bad, or indifferent, they hold you in such a high regard for your ability to step into the cage or ring and put on such an entertaining fight that a lot of these guys, like prime example, Bob Sapp, was pure garbage no matter how you break it down. And I'll still hold those 2 victories over Hoost as nothing more than 2 flukes. But Bob Sapp was absolute garbage, but is still to this day a household name in Japan still makes millions of dollars off of endorsements and TV appearances, game show appearances, and a lot of guys who competed in K1 made a killing just doing, Japanese shows or Japanese appearances. And I think that's something that other countries could definitely learn. That's something I think a lot of countries should definitely copy and emulate for helping to put these fighters over and getting them to be household names. I mean, you've seen the crowds that K1 would draw in. Any organization in North America would kill for that kind of a showing.
They sold out the Osaka Dome?
Yep.
Twice? Like crazy.
That's insane. Well, gentlemen, that was all I had in regards to episode 3. I want to thank you guys for taking the time this evening for coming out, doing the sound checks and recording. I think we put on another fantastic show. As I've said before, we get better and better each time we do this, and I'm loving the chemistry. I'm loving the vibe. For those listening, definitely feel free to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. The more listeners we get, the more we're inclined to keep doing these shows. Now, episode 3 was supposed to be all about the beat-em-ups, but with the breaking news that happened this week in regards to Khabib's father and Gamebred stepping in and basically the systematic destruction of what used to be known as Glory, I think we kind of had to put the beat-em-ups on hold. But gentlemen, what are your thoughts on the next taping, picking up where we left off? All about the beat-em-ups, Volume 1, SNK versus Capcom.
Nice. But before that, are we going to recap the weekend after the fights?
I'm down.
I think this week is a must. I mean, it's because win, lose, or draw, it's going to be so much coming out of these. Like,
oh yeah,
who's the next fight? Where do we go next? It's going to be a lot.
And plus, I have to take McGriddles down memory lane from where I completely smoked him in Street Fighter at his house. And of course, he's going to pretend like he doesn't remember, but Taz remembers.
Yeah, it's all lies, but okay.
I can't wait till the next episode because I had Capcom vs SNK for Dreamcast 1 and 2, and
dude,
that was
fighting games ever.
Yes,
oh yeah,
and I literally cannot wait. That's why I actually enjoyed the movie that we're probably going to review. But anyways, I can't wait till next.
Once again, thank you everyone for tuning in for another exciting episode of H8L Presents Fist Fights and Fried Rice.